All right, everybody, back again for the Ski Rex Media podcast. You wouldn't believe it. It wasn't working. I couldn't get it to work. It's so embarrassing, and I'm not easily embarrassed, but that's okay. We're going to start out here the way I usually do. We're going to start out talking about Whaleback Mountain. That's right. You know them. They're a partner of mine. I love Whaleback Mountain. How much do I love it? I'm a pass holder, plus I'm 15 minutes away. They have everything you could want here in New England. You want a little microcosm of a New England ski area, and they are small, but that's okay. That's a wonderful thing. I love that. We all don't need to be at the big place over there that begins with a K. No, you want trees, they got trees. Steeps, they got steeps. Groomed, ungroomed. You want them to teach you how to do it? They can do that, and super accessible. Right off the interstate at I-89, exit 16. Very close. You could spit out of your car window and hit someone else's windshield in the parking lot from the interstate. Please don't do it. Also, to be, as I've always said, for Ski Rex Media to be really, really legitimate, I also need a ski sponsor, and I have one of those too. Saint Custom Skis and Snowboards out of Gorham, New Hampshire. Yes, do you want something that's all your own? Your length, your width, your graphics, your swear words on your graphics, your not so couth, I know that's not a word, but uncouth photographs on your skis or snowboard. You can go to Saint and they'll get that done. Shout out to KJ and his dad Kevin. They will make you whatever you want, however you want, to look whatever way you want, from products and sources right there in New Hampshire. The wood is right up the road from their shop. That's how New Hampshire it is. Shout out to Saint Skis, Custom Skis and Snowboards there in Gorham, New Hampshire. Check them out. Links in the description for both Saint and Whaleback. So let's get to talking to today's guest, this week's guest. This week's guest has been doing this a little bit longer than I have, and a bit better for sure. The one and only, now Hall of Famer, if I'm not incorrect about that, Kent Kreitler. Kent, how you doing?
I'm great. I was just looking at Whaleback Mountain.
Nice. What do you think?
And it looks like fun. I love these. I love little mom and pop kind of ski areas, which is my first impression. It looks cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's super cool. Little place. Closed right now because our weather has sucked. Dude, you sent me a couple of videos of what you've been doing lately, man. It looks like you have found snow out there on your side of the country.
Oh, yeah. We're having a really great season here.
Very nice.
I'm in Sun Valley, Idaho, where I grew up here in Ketchum. And this mountain's pretty amazing when we have snow, and sometimes we struggle. But the out of bounds terrain is amazing, and there's just so much of it that when we do get snow, it's pretty much just nonstop powder skiing.
Excellent. And some people love that. Me, the powder whoops me butt good. I'm not even gonna lie about it. Stay in shape, everybody. We were just talking about the magic age when the eyes go, and I've hit that. I am 43 years old, and that was our consensus. So
see that? That's when you get your first readers. 43.
Absolutely. Oh, and I need them. Believe me, it's getting. I swear, I got to push the chair a little further back or a little closer to see things. It's amazing. All right, so Kent, let's get over a quick history of where you are, what you do. People do recognize your name. You were recommended to me by Dan Egan, a friend of the program. People know that he's a friend of Ski Rex Media. So let's put you on the timeline. Now we know where Dan was. Where were you on the timeline?
Well, let's see. I guess kind of like next generation behind Dan and the Deloriers, and they kind of came in there right behind Schmidt and Blake. I guess by the time I was maybe in high school, I started seeing those guys doing the Warren Miller movies.
Sure.
So, I kind of, let's see. So when I was in college, we were watching Greg Stump's movies, and I grew up here, though, in Sun Valley, where the Barrymore and Warren Miller movies came out of. So, that whole film culture was pretty influential on me from a really young age. Even though I was on the race team growing up here, but I was always really inspired by the guys in the films, and interested in being part of that, I guess, eventually, obviously.
Yeah, totally. And you made it. You went from racing to free skiing. What's that like, going from the course and the structure to the zero structure?
Well, it was good. I think racing's really good for people skiing. Like a lot of a lot of good skiers come out of Sun Valley. Carl Fosfet is one of the like really relevant, probably my favorite skier right now. And we just have, Sun Valley kind of has a rap of being more of an Aspen-like or Vail kind of mountain, but it's really not. It's deep and it's 3,000 vertical with very few flats. So it's a good mountain, regardless of racing, for people just to really learn how to make a strong turn on. In terms of racing, like that was really helpful for my big mountain skiing, because in racing you have to memorize a course, and when you get into big mountain, you really have to be memorizing lines without even. I mean, in racing you get to side slip or hike a line, and big mountain, especially a lot of the filming I did in Alaska and other places, you're just looking at it and memorizing features and then nailing your line on the way down. So I mean, that aspect of downhill racing, and me and some other guys really brought speed into the big mountain skiing. So for us it was applicable, and I think you see like a lot of really good technique out of my generation of big mountain skiers, because I think a lot of us grew up racing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I coming up in the 90s, you started to see out of the extreme movement into what would become, I guess, the free skiing movement, I would say. I don't know the terminology. It's hard to keep track of it all. The kids call it something else now, don't they? I don't even know.
Well, I think big mountain is free skiing's the umbrella term, but I think it also applies directly to park and pipe in terms of FIS Olympic skiing.
Sure.
And then so it kind of confuses me too. And then originally when I started, it was called extreme skiing, which none of us really liked very much. And then
it looks tasty of Mary and never
only so.
Awesome.
That's for my daughter. My daughter has diabetes. She has an appointment tomorrow, so that was the hospital.
Gotcha.
She's fine though. What was I saying? There's this picture. I lost you. I didn't know I had you on the screen. There you are.
Oh, there I am. Yeah, technology's kicking us in the tail today, kids. It's not fun, but we're making it work. So we were talking about, the difference in the terminology, extreme moving into free skiing, moving, from the late 70s into the 80s into the 90s, whatever the terminology is, big mountain and so forth, and what it all actually is. And I don't know, because I don't go up there. Lord knows I would love to, but I don't. The nature doesn't want me up there. It says you don't do it good in any altitude over 5,000 feet, so keep your ass down on the bottom where you belong. In fact, I jokingly asked Egan, I was like, dude, how do you stop that? Because he says, hey, you're going to be in Big Sky for the Hall of Fame induction gala this year. I was like, dude, Big Sky 7,200 feet up without the mountain, dude. And that kind of brings us to one of your next things coming up this year. You are being inducted. You're not the first inductee I've talked about. What's that like, man?
Well, it's a great honor, and I'm excited for it. It's an honor, and there's so many people who supported me. So it would be a time to celebrate, all those people as well. And it's an elite, group of people, and I'm excited to be inducted.
Very nice.
I don't know what else to tell you.
No, and that's cool, man, because that's a very common thing. We talked to Holly Flanders and why am I blanking on names? The Poppin family, Sherman Poppin's family, and I am blanking names hard. That's me though, no memory. No eyes, no memory. Who needs them?
Where did Ski Rex come from?
Ski Rex Media comes from me thinking many, many years ago that I was creative. And I had a nickname of T-Rex at my job at the time because I happened to run through our stock room with my arms up nice and short like a T-Rex. So I was like, no, I'm a ski Rex, because I was the skier, everybody knew that. And I realized I wasn't as creative, and there were ski Rexes everywhere. There's even a ski Rex on my wall that someone else found. And so here I am trying to spread the love that skiing and snow sports and snowboarding and telemark and everything else is for everybody. There's no holds barred here, man. If you're young, do it. Old, do it. Where you come from doesn't matter. Let's all get out there. And that's what I do.
No, that's it's fun. I like it. I hadn't heard of you previously to doing this. And I love learning about people who are out there, and loving the sport. We all love the mountains and the sport. So and everyone kind of approaches it from a different angle. So I appreciate your angle.
Absolutely. I'll talk to anyone. I don't care whether I've heard of you or not, whether you're super famous beyond me, which you are, which Dan is, these people who, when they know me, it's just like, ooh, that's cool, man. And, but I want to make sure we all get it. If you run a mountain, I'll talk to you. If you do artwork, like I was saying, eventually we're going to have Chris Benchetler on this, and he's busy too, just like Kent's very busy. And we're trying to get, schedules to meet up, but he's an artist too. And he used to ride a lot with, I love the kid. Now I can't remember his name. Holy smokes. Out there in Mount Hood. Was part of Nimbus.
There's a whole generation of people that I kind of missed when I dropped out of the sport. And I know people. I have a friend who he still doesn't ski with Atomic.
Okay.
And the Benchetler. So I have a couple buddies who love his ski that I ski with.
Yeah, he's great. He's a really interesting guy. The people he's been around, and he was part of, like you said, the next generation. So you know what, we could go over your history. We could say, this, Kent Kreitler, he was there at the beginning of TGR's films. He was there filming this, that, and the other through the 90s and the 2000s. And now you've worked all the way up. You've gotten into the Hall of Fame next to a whole bunch of cool people. Awesome. But you just said when you dropped out. Now, what is that like? Not dropping out necessarily, but, the filming's done. The sponsor contracts are fulfilled. You can now do whatever you want. What is that like?
Well, I think it's pretty hard, really. I did it for 15 years. And I just really, I took a little bit different track than a lot of people do. I just felt like it was time for me to get out of the industry completely. And I walked. I could have still had contracts and kept going. But I made a decision just to completely pull out. Just there were a couple reasons, but I just felt like it just wasn't serving me anymore. And I felt like I just had to do something else with my life.
Sure.
And I walked away pretty full on for about 3 years, and then slowly got back into it. Now I'm, for many years now, I'm still been fanatical about skiing, but I love doing it without having any work responsibilities related.
Yeah, it's fun again. If that,
it was always, I guess that's part of it. The stuff, what I was doing is very dangerous and very high intensity, and to have there's basically an expectation on you to up your game every year.
Sure.
At that time, I think people are being a little more accommodating to older athletes now, and keeping like those brand athletes on board. But back when I was retiring, that wasn't so much the perspective. And like me and the guys who were my peers were very pioneering in that we created sponsored skiers in free skiing. We're the ones who wrote the letters, convinced the industry, talked to marketing directors, and it was always a push. And I got to this point where I was becoming more of a veteran athlete. And I just was like, you know what? I'm not doing this battle again where I've got to convince someone about my value and there was generally like my salaries were getting lowered, and I just said, I'm just going to pull the plug, because I'd really, for one thing, felt like I'd achieved all those dreams and goals that I was going after. Like I did so much. I had the opportunity to do so many cool things and really be an adventurer and get out and explore the sport and be a creator. And, I guess maybe I felt like I peaked to some level, but also kind of achieved the things that I'd been going after. I didn't have any new targets. You know, I was like, I'm out of targets that I want to get. There's nothing that I'm chasing after right now to go and do or prove or show or try or create.
Yeah, see, that's interesting to me because it feels like athletes, doesn't matter where you fall, whether it's, you know, you're an FIS rider or if you're, you know, riding for Red Bull or, you know, X Games or whatever, it feels like, as you said, kind of, you got to look to the next thing. You got to keep going, go bigger. And then at some point it just has to become a job. And do you really want to do it anymore? And I think some people won't admit that they don't. That, okay, yeah, I've achieved everything I want. And I don't know if that's your experience too. Is it? No, yes? With other people, that is?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, I love skiing. I just came in, you know, off the backside of Baldy here, and I love skiing, but my friends want to break out a camera and get powder shots, and I'm like, no, I did that for 15 years. So I don't even want to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. I think that's amazingly
come on,
interesting.
Social media, we got to get some shots. So I did. I stopped. We had some ridiculous pow days. I think I stopped for like, you know, we did like 6 turns, and it's like you can shoot amazing photos off your phone these days, which you couldn't do back then. Yeah. And you know, it's like we stopped once and crushed it, and I was like, all right, we're good. We got the footage for the year for everyone on social media.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See, well, you did get a good one. The one I liked, and something else. And again, since you're kind of out of the game, out of the pro game where everybody's doing that, the next camera shoot, the next photo shoot, the next, you know, film shoot, whatever it is, you did send me the one of, now first in it almost looked like you were in a burnt out forest. Is that right? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to me because part of skiing is getting outside and you get to see all these cool landscapes. Like, is that a part of it?
Yeah, we have a lot of burn around here, so the burn is great for skiing because all the branches have fallen off the trees.
Oh yeah, it looked fantastic. And then you were like, was that like a friggin' deer or something?
Elk.
It was an elk.
It was a full, pretty large buck elk.
So
yeah.
I can only imagine for you now. You get to see this. That has to be, again, Kent's not in it for the money anymore. That's done. It's over. Now we can go look at the damn elks that are skiing by. It's wonderful. And I'm guessing that area of Idaho is awesome for that, just being outdoor sports.
Yeah, I love it. There's so much to do. We have a couple different mountain ranges. You know, by the way, for your East Coast crew, you know, and like you guys have the Egan's, and yep. I actually I was born in Kansas City, and I lived in New Jersey until I was 10, and I started skiing at Vernon Valley and Great Gorge in Jersey, and then we moved to Ketchum, Idaho when I was 10. But anyway, the outdoors, yeah, I mean, it's amazing around here. I've skied it. So I shot that video I sent to you. I actually just posted it on my, I don't post that much on Instagram. I'm kind of on there because I'm a realtor, and I just like stir the pot, and like every once in a while I'll pull a client off of social media.
Sure.
That IG is kentkreitler.props.
There you go.
But yeah, so I saw this buck elk, and I was like, well, I think I'll get a video of this. So I got my camera out and skied, and he was running down the hill next to me. It was very, very cool. I've also skied in right where I can see out my window here. I skied into a cougar once, almost hit it, and it scared the crap out of me. I was by myself.
Dude.
Yeah, big female cougar that just ran down the hill, and I had no way I stopped, and I had it clipped out, so it was coming towards me, and the last thing I expected to see was a cougar.
Totally.
And you know, just saw the way that a cat moves, you know, that slanky, because I was like, my brain was trying to process so quickly, and I was like, coyote, well, like what, like dog, what? And I'm like, it's just like this enormous cat. And then the thing like got right in front of me, and I stopped because I was skiing into it as it was coming kind of towards me, because I was skiing down this couloir, and it like came off this cliff and then ran down the couloir, and all I saw were haunches once and pow, and then I saw haunches one more time, and then it was gone. And then I was like, how do I get out of here? Because that's my line. And I went over to, I was like, I'll go jump off the cliff that it was standing on. And I went over this cliff and it was all rocky below. And I was like, all right, I can't go down that way. And so then I just, I went back over to the little couloir and I just put my hands up in the air and just sent it straight lining and was like, and I just went all the way to the bottom and there's this river crossing I have to do at the bottom. And I went all the way to the bottom and I was like, literally pretty much, and I wasn't really in a panic, but I felt definitely like a prey item. Yeah. And I had to like get through these willows and I wasn't really at ease until I got across the river and I was like, all right, because I was totally solo and I don't really want to go ski by myself anymore.
I can imagine.
I could have gone a different direction, you know?
It really could have. Like, all right. So go back, kids. If you're following along at home, go ahead and look up some of Kent's past films and realize that his real life is even more exciting. There you go. He's doing action films. Like you saw Leonardo DiCaprio fight that fake bear. He was running from a real cougar. So there you go. Very cool. Very cool.
I'd rather be skiing from a cougar than running from one.
Absolutely. You might have a shot if it wants you. Like you're not outrunning that cat, but you might outski it. That's incredible, man. Like the coolest thing I think I've ever seen for animals while skiing is turkeys. And yeah, they can be dangerous too, but you know, not a damn big cat. Dude, that is cool.
We get these grouse that sometimes will fly up out of the snow, like right in your face when you're skiing. They scare the crap out of you.
I've heard about the grouse, dude. They don't play. They're nasty. Well, they don't have those here, I don't think.
They wait until the last second. You're on top of them, and they blow up out of the snow because they kind of, what do they call it? Like they huddle under the snow.
Yeah.
I don't
think we have those here, and that's fine. I mean, I love animals. I would love to see any of them. I've seen coyotes up close. I've seen bighorn sheep up close out there just on the other side of Las Vegas, man, all that stuff. A lot of fun. And that, I just loved it when you sent that one video. I was like, holy crap, that is so cool that you have something, like we get close, we have whitetails, so I guess we could see that, but we're not seeing any big-ass elk or anything. That's cool,
we have a lot of wildlife. The only time I've only seen, a lot of people see wolves here, and I've only seen one, and it ran out from under a guardrail, and I hit it with my car and killed it, unfortunately.
Oh,
big, huge male wolf. Not the only wolf I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's the last thing it ever saw was you.
So anyway, I seem to have encounters with animals.
You do, man. That's cool. I should ski with you.
A lot of hunting either.
Yeah. Oh, neither am I. How's the skills? If you're out of the game, do the skills stick around? Or because I got out of the game for 6 years and I suck. Now I'm awful. People say, no, you're okay. No, I'm not. Quit being nice. How did your skills hold out? You're obviously still out in the big mountain.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the skills are there. I feel like if I didn't have a child and I trained and I was in the same shape that I used to be in, I used to train really hard. I was in the weight room all the time. I was like being on the U.S. ski team on the race team, you know?
Yeah.
When I was a pro. And, now I get out there and I charge super hard, but sometimes mentally I'm still there.
Sure.
But physically, I'm like, I have to check myself because I have to remember, you're not squatting every day and in the kind of shape that you used to be in, buddy. So take it easy.
That's what it is, dude. That's 100% what it is. I step out of that mountain. Everything feels great. No, everything feels great up in the mind, but the body says this doesn't feel great at all. And you go home and you cry. I cry.
Yeah, I want the body to keep feeling great, but if I go at it too hard, if I try to do super G turns, through the moguls, which I used to do all the time, I can still do it, but it's like, okay, where's my back gonna be tomorrow, and what totally feel like?
No, believe me, dude, I get it, and I'm always impressed by anybody who could keep going and keep their skills, because people say it's like riding a bike, and I guess it is, but for me, it wasn't like that so much. I had to work to get back to a level that I'm confident with. Yeah. And people are like, you ski trees still? And I'm like, I haven't skied a tree for real in years. They say, you ski bumps still? I was like, I can tell you exactly where I was the last bump run I skied. I know exactly where I was. I was at Mount Snow in 1998 is where I was.
It's all good if there's POW on it. I'm just out on the I'll ski groomers a little bit.
There you
or if
go.
I'm with clients once in a while, but the my buddies and I all ski these big. No one makes these skis anymore, so I have this quiver in my garage of skis that aren't made anymore that are all like 135 underfoot, like the Volcal Kuro, the K2 Powabunga, and they're not good for hiking in the backcountry. They're not really good. They're horrible on the mountain. They're horrible on anything but powder. And so, like, we're doing a lot of lift access powder skiing, and we park cars around the mountain and we ski to our cars. So, like, those skis never sold very well, but they're just like, they're the best skis. Like the Powabunga is like the best ski ever. And then I've got these other Liberties that are like 140 underfoot.
Yeah.
And all these skis just, there's, I still use the 192, or, I have maybe some a little shorter 184 to 192 range, depending on what I found. But
yeah,
it's just down out. If anyone out there has any Powabunga 192s that are sitting in the garage, mine are completely destroyed, and it's my favorite ski. But I've got some other ones I'm going out on. But that green Powabunga, is like, it makes it easy. I got my buddies are on the same skis, and we're all out there just crushing, but
that's got to be something.
They work better in deep snow. They work better in shallow snow, but it has to be powder. Otherwise they're just horrible because they're way too big underfoot.
I can only imagine. I've never skied a true powder ski, but I've never had to. I've never been off the East. I've never been out of New England, so I've never really had to. But man, I would love to try just to see, knowing that they came like, wasn't the powder ski kind of born out of the water ski? Something I've never tried actually. And I lived in Jersey too. And that's a lot of beach, and I've never tried water skiing, but isn't that where the technology came from? I can't remember.
Well, the Atomic Powder Plus was, developed basically for heli skiers who weren't very good skiers.
Yeah.
They thought it was like a ski that they were developing. This is how I understand it, for intermediate skiers to go heli skiing. And so it was kind of like this, it was kind of this anomaly that some folks started figuring out and latching onto. Some friends of mine and myself.
Sure.
Eventually. K2, but I was with K2 back then. I wanted them to build a fat ski for like 3 years before they finally did it.
Oh.
And everyone was just like, no, like no one's ever going to ski on anything no one's going to take that seriously. Now you see them. Now it's like you go to Jackson or what else? Squaw, like people don't even ride anything under 115 underfoot if it's just a normal day.
Yeah, totally.
It's just the regular ski, you just get used to it after a while. I like 115s for 115 underfoot is awesome for carving groomers, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you can rail a turn on it. You go bigger than that, it starts to get a little too wide.
Yeah, and I believe it. I love me some groomer runs these days. I'm fine with just cruising, hanging out, and getting some sunshine on my face, man. Doing the work.
Not quite there yet.
No, you'll get there. We all get there.
I do that with my daughter. I do a lot of skiing with my daughter. She's 9. Yep. But not for long. Pretty soon I'm going to start taking her out and skiing with me more.
Hey, get them started young. Let them learn. That's how you learn. You do your own teaching with your kid, or do you put that in the hands of the pros?
She's on the ski team. I never taught her until I started. She's on the ski team, but she was just making a horrible race turn, and they have so many kids. I don't think they quite had like time to give too much individual attention. And
sure.
She was missing a bunch of ski team and stuff too. But so I finally started working on her turn. I was like, okay, if you're going to get into this racing deal, you got to keep the arms calm down a little bit now in front, and you need to pressure the front of your boot, and you need to make this different turn. I took her last year. She was 8, and I took her over to Engelberg, Switzerland, and she'll ski. I took her into the circuit snowboard when she was like 6 or 7, and she just charged it.
Nice.
She hadn't even been 5, but I took her over to Switzerland last year, and we had spring conditions. And I don't know, anyone who's been to Engelberg, they'll know the Laub, or you can look it up. It's this 3,000 foot run that's just, it's a great, huge, wide open run, but there's some exposure and rock in it. And we dropped into there's one little notch into the loub, and I took her in, and we got like 10 feet in, and it was sheer ice. It was so much ice that I couldn't think of how to click her skis off to get her back out.
Sure.
And the entrance was right above me. I was like, I can't do anything. So I felt like a horrible parent. And I just like stood below her and was just ready to self-arrest her if anything happened. But I finally got her into the gut, and she was a little bit scared getting into the gut, and then she just charged it. Like, she makes a really good check turn. She doesn't make a really good race turn. Anyway, I thought I side slipped like the whole first 1,000 feet, ready to pounce on her if she fell, but she just charged it. I was like, "Do you want to side slip?" She's like, "No, I got this."
Hey.
Like, your center of gravity is low. You do have this.
They do have that. Man, those kids, man, the little ones, they just bomb everything. It's like they're part fearless and then part little cannons. It's wonderful to watch. And wonderful to watch kids come up. Like I don't have children, but and I don't hang out in the learning area much, so I don't know. But every so often I'll be having minding my own business. Next thing I know, a bullet will go shooting by. It's like a 4-year-old. Like, all right, kid, have a blast. And I'm glad they're having a blast.
That was me when I was a Jersey skier. I remember when I was our parents used to always give us like used gear, even though our family had money. And I remember I finally got these hand-me-downs from my sister that were pretty nice, that she only had used for a season. Or I don't know why we had these skis, but first day on them, I was bombing around, and I think I went straight into the lift line, and I was this Rothignol with this white Rothignol, and I remember I broke my ski in half on someone's ski boot. Like, I think I just skied into the lift line full speed. It's just one of my Great Gorge Vernon Valley memories.
So let me translate for some of the younger folk. That's Mountain Creek now, for those who don't know.
I didn't know him.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't. Actually, it's funny. More people still, you could tell, depending on the era, where, like, I only know that because I've had people tell me. I say, oh, you mean Mountain Creek, because New Jersey has 2 places to ski, there and Big Snow American Dream. Which is
Snow America Dream?
Yeah, Big Snow American Dream.
Actual name?
Yeah, it's inside. It's in a mall, dude. Have you seen this thing yet? Obviously not.
I was going to say, that's like a Disneyland name right there.
Okay. When was the last time you were in Jersey?
So have you ever interviewed Darian Boyle?
No.
She's great, but she's from Jersey.
Sure.
When I was back there, I had my daughter back. My daughter and I did a New York trip to visit a friend. And I went to the coast, but Darian's awesome, but you should interview her sometime, because she was part of our whole squaw crew, and she was really successful, and she's an awesome person to speak with. I love
Jersey, man.
Stories. But anyway, I was in Jersey like 4 years ago for the first time in ages.
Okay, perfect. So do you remember, if you're cruising up the turnpike way up North Jersey, up by...
I don't know.
All? Okay. Well, anyway... So there, for many years, there was this big mall sitting right next to where the Giants and the Jets play, and it sat closed for 15 years. No one knew what they were going to do with it. Someone come along, buy it. It had the indoor slope sitting there, just this big freezer that's on an angle. And they finally said, we're opening it because America doesn't have this. The United States, Canada, we don't have it. North America, Europe, Asia, they got tons of these things. So we're like, let's go check it out. Let me tell you, it's goofy and silly and awesome. Yeah. I love it. I've been in there. Riding a quad chair in a giant freezer is ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous thing, but it's so cool. I don't know. Like, you'd be able to destroy this thing in like 2 seconds. Anybody who goes in there who actually knows how to ski could destroy this thing without. But it's so novel and so different, and it's actually getting more people who don't get to go out. It's the idea of indoor.
Imagine like someone who's a park skier could train for hours and hours and hours in a place like that. I mean, I remember growing up, a lot of the best ski racers used to come out of these icy mountains in the East Coast and Midwest, because they just grew up skiing on these 500-foot mountains with horrible conditions, and they just knew how to hold an edge better than anyone.
Totally. Yeah, this place is great because now you're getting them out of New York City. Yeah. Like, this is a whole untapped resource for people, because, people don't want to drive all the way up to Vermont to go skiing or even fight traffic to Vernon Valley. Nobody wants to do that. It's right there. You can take the train over, man. It's really cool.
I know the traffic's not getting any easier anywhere, is it? I
no.
mean, it's crazy. Like changes between 20 years ago and now, just trying to get anywhere, you know, for skiing in particular.
How is it at Sun Valley, man? Like you
no
hear
traffic,
about,
man.
None?
We're in the golden bubble here. We're hard to get to. We've got one of the best ski mountains in the country. We don't have any lift lines. They keep opening new terrain.
Sure.
And we're just off the radar. You know, obviously all these towns have gotten very affluent and harder and harder to move to, but we're still our real estate's still less than so many of the big ski areas. So many.
Really?
My house, because I'm a realtor.
Nice. Yeah, if you want to move to Sun Valley, call Ken. He'll show you things.
We don't have lift lines. We had some over Christmas, and we're back to none. You know, today. Now it's amazing. They're putting new lifts in again this year. I mean, and then we have like the Sawtooth Wilderness, the Pioneers. The mountains around here are gorgeous. The mountain biking's off the hook. I e-bike, by the way. I love that. It's so much fun.
Those things are so cool.
Oh man, I switched off my regular bike. I bought an e-bike and I sold my other mountain bike a couple of days later. I was like, I'm done with this. It's fat skis versus skinny skis on a powder day.
Totally, man.
You know, some people the traditionalists hate it, but I love it. I go further and faster, and it's more fun.
Yeah, who cares about tradition? That's what I say.
And but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty lucky here, man.
It's always. I mean, when it comes to traffic, you hear about the scary stories going out of Denver and up into the mountains on I-70 and the Cottonwood Canyons, both sides, you know, Little Canyon. It's pretty particular. You know, you hear all these stuff, and then you now, son, where you are in Idaho, man, that place, everyone who's been there says it's like paradise. It's gorgeous, beautiful. If you like mountain living, that kind of thing, head out there. It's awesome. And I've never been there. Even when I lived in Nevada, I never took the time to run up. But to hear that it's so chilled out, like, that's awesome, man. No lines anywhere, no cars, no lift lines, no nothing. And then all the backcountry you want off of those lifts. It's lift served in some places, I think you said, yes?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of our secret. And then the other piece of that is that we don't have a lot of, we don't have like a Jackson Hole or a, well, I always think of Jackson because I go over there and there's so many off-piste skiers who are very knowledgeable and skilled. And for here, I happen to be one of the only people who have like that 15 years of background of working with the best guides in the world and like knowing what I mean, there's a lot of people around here who know what they're doing, but and there's a lot of people, honestly, who are more adventurous than me. I feel like I'm on the dad program where I ski off, and I also did so much. Getting up at 3 a.m. and packing snowmobiles into a truck and going out to shoot for 15 years and getting up the crack of dawn. At this point, I'm like, you know what? I'll ride the lifts. But there's a lot of backcountry around here, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people who are way more on a mountaineer, type of a trajectory than I am. But for the stuff that's off the mountain, I happen to have good snow assessment skills, and a lot of people won't go. And there's so much of my life I was thrown into situations where it was really dangerous, and we were still out there, and we still had to get down. And so, there's a difference between not going out if it's dangerous and going out and knowing how to pick the correct line selection to get down safely, no matter how high the abbey danger is.
Yeah. Hey man, safety over send. Like there's that term that says send over term, that's send over safety. No, that's not for anybody. Let's be safe.
You have to know. It takes a while. It takes a long time to really suss it out and know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
The other thing for me is like I'm hitting a lot of areas over and over again that I'm really familiar with.
Sure.
So it's easy. Like if I go somewhere new, and we used to do all our trips, to do films, like, you show up somewhere new, you don't know, you have no idea what kind of cycles went through there all year. So
Totally.
That's when you always want to connect with someone who's local, who really knows what's going on and can tell you, what's been going on for the year. And, it's technical too. I mean, it's aspect specific, it's elevation specific. There's a lot to figure out. So I'm hot on my game here, but if I go somewhere else, it's not like I'm going to get out of the car and think I know what's going on.
No,
without
and that's
taking, a lot of pits and doing a lot of control work or talking to someone else who knows.
No, that's brilliant. And that's a great message. Over the last couple of years, as people have been getting more and more outside because of pandemic issues and whatever, I think a few people have pushed what they know. Like, dude, you don't know, and it's no harm in asking. So ask, don't get yourself hurt or worse. And I think that's a great message. Like, if you know your spot, great, that's cool. If you don't pretend that you do. And Ken will tell you all about his spot, and then he'll sell you a house while you're out there. What are we looking at for prices out there? I know people who are looking to move out west.
Well, like many places, the COVID phenomenon more than doubled our prices.
Oh, yeah.
So we have 4 towns. We have Bellevue, Haley, Ketchum, and Sun Valley. And Bellevue is about 13 miles from the mountain. And then Haley's about 10, and then Ketchum and Sun Valley are the ski mountain's actually in Ketchum, and then Sun Valley has the beginner mountain and is a different little zone on the other side of Ketchum.
Sure.
Ketchum and Sun Valley, we're up to the very bottom of the market for an older 3-bedroom home right now is around 1.5 mil.
Okay.
Which is a hell of a lot less than a lot of places still.
No, it really is. Like, some people would
coming from Aspen or Jackson, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then we, studios, 500 really. I mean, like, even that, the condo market's tight because that's the bottom of the market too. For a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, there's a couple out there right now for 600 in the 600s, but they're not. They need a little love generally, or don't have views, or whatever. So it goes up from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so but there's also been we've had an influx of wealthy and a lot of really interesting people though too. So there's an upside. The downside is just that we need more affordable housing and more what they're calling workforce housing and options for people who have been here for a long time and don't already own or who work in town, so they're not commuting really far.
Yeah, and that's actually interesting to have someone who not only has the ski background, but who could actually tell you what all this real estate stuff means. And you hear that's a big thing now around, various mountains. Like, I don't know how bad it is here, but you hear about it out of Colorado and Wyoming and stuff, that the workers have nowhere to live. And that's a very real thing, isn't it?
Yeah. No, we have, and it's the tough. The other side of that is that restaurants and other businesses that could be doing much better in town and who already do well can't get staff. Like, we have a huge open job market here. There's a ton of work. There's just nowhere to live that fits the pay.
That's such a shame, because working in the industry is so much fun, especially for young people. We've started to send our friends' kids who are now in high school and after, we send them up to the mountains, dude. Like, go work at Stratton, dude. Go work at Mount Snow. Go work at Killington.
Sun Valley has great employee housing. If any East Coast kids are listening who come to Sun Valley for a year or two, Sun Valley company itself has really good housing, and I think. I know a lot of people who work for Sun Valley also work other jobs around town, so they don't limit you to working exclusively for them. But that part of it actually is good. I had a nephew come out here a couple years ago who was having a good old time in his 20s. You just don't see that as much anymore. All the kids in their 20s coming out to these towns and just tearing it up and having a good time and living the ski bum life. It's it's pretty hard these days.
Yeah, and it really is a bummer, because it could be such a great life. Like, I don't actually, well, great is relative. Like, I did my share, and it was working, and it was skiing, and it was skiing, and it was working. And it wasn't like I was trying to get onto film. I wasn't living that life, where you hear about out of New England, you hear about the Egan's and the Deloriers. Shout out to them in Bolton Valley and Lindsay as well, whom I've had on the program. I love Lindsay
Delorier is one of my favorite people to ski with.
Yeah, really? I've never met him. I've met the sister. I've never met the boys.
He has like the best technique. Him and Scott Schmidt both have gorgeous technique. I love skiing with those guys. They're both just beautiful skiers.
Yeah, I've heard Schmidt is ridiculous, and that's definitely some role model skiing right there, kids. If you could, if you want to get, watch them and then say, think about how good you really are. I don't do that because I know I'm not good. Let's see what else we got. What else is happening out there in Sun Valley, man? Again, I heard it's a beautiful, gorgeous place, and I don't know anything about it.
What else happens here? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a quiet town. I don't know what to tell you. Back to Rob D. I actually have a development project in Panama, and I've been reaching out to him as an advisor a little bit because he's done some very big time developing around Jackson.
Sure,
but it's kind of nice to have a ski community buddies who have kind of stepped out of it and can help me with something else that I'm into. But yeah, I don't know. Here in Sun Valley, I like to get out of here. It gets a little small sometimes. I roll down to Salt Lake City. I've got the Icon Pass.
Okay.
I can ski. I have good connections at Jackson with the TGR boys and other people. I can usually get on the hill over there. So I like to bounce out of here, and I do social things down in Salt Lake. It's a 4-hour easy drive.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, man, that Cottonwood Canyon lineup, like you got to make, if you're going out, it's trying to get anywhere on a powder day down there and get more than 3 runs is like, I don't know if you can, on the ski mountains, there's good backcountry, but I think even their backcountry's mopped down there.
I think you're right, man. The traffic out of those places is infamous. You talk to people who come, back east to ski, and you're like, dude, were you just there? Like, yeah. And holy smokes, they tell you the whole thing. Like I was in traffic, like I was on I-95, and that's, that's legendary too.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow,
we don't have a feeder city here. We have Boise, which is 2 hours away, and Boise is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. But the Boise people, I think 95% of them go up to McCall and ski Schweitzer and Brundage, and they go to Tamarack. There's a couple areas over there, and they think I don't know why they don't come here. I have a couple friends from Boise who come. And then we don't have a feeder city. We have Twin Falls,
sure,
which is 60 miles south of us, which is a growing town. I think Chobani Yogurt and Cliff Bar are there, but I mean, there's not a ton of industry there. It's a small Idaho city, but we just don't have that feeder city. So we just don't have these crowds. So that it's a blessing.
That's awesome. That is a blessing and a half, dude. Because even here we get crowds in some places, and I avoid them. Like I said, I stay at Whaleback, man. Their crowds, there aren't crowds. There's no such thing there.
Whaleback looks pretty chill.
Oh, it's so wonderful, man. There have been days where I've had practically the whole place to myself, except when it's snowing. And I've said this before to you locals, people who are local to me. I know you snuck out of work, and I know where you all work because you work in one of 3 places. So they're watching you, believe me. Stop sneaking out, especially when I'm there. Go somewhere else. No, I'm kidding, of course. Yeah, man, it's a big thing out here because we're so small. So it's every, 2 hours or less, you have something different. And, we got Boston, we got New York, we have Albany, we have Springfield, we have all of New Jersey.
More density. We just have no density out here.
That's awesome, though.
It's up north. There's this place that's like 4 hours north of here by Salmon, Idaho. It's on the Idaho-Wyoming border, or Montana. Nice. It's called Lost Trail. They close Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Sure.
And they get all the storms that go north of us that hit Jackson. We can struggle for snow here because all these storms that come through Seattle in the north tend to kind of skip over us. We need to get like Tahoe storms that swoop north and come in from the south if we're going to get hit good.
Yeah.
And then Jackson kind of tends to get both of them.
Yeah.
And millions of people.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But this place, Lost Trail, is it's just off the radar, really cool spot that I bounce up to sometimes, and it's just full mom and pop. Like there's some good ski. There's some great skiing there, and just like the vibe is just super old school, you know,
That's
old
awesome.
lodge. No
Love it.
amenities except for like the one lodge and restaurant, which is kind of remote. It's like 40 minutes from any city.
Love it.
Really cool spot.
Love it. That's what I'm talking about, man. Like, I mean, of course.
Discovery Basin in Montana is sick.
Oh,
That
really?
place is totally off the radar, and it's like 3,000 vertical and just fucking, excuse me.
No,
just
by all means.
amazing.
Go nuts, man. I don't, no FCC here, man. If you got,
Okay.
if you drop an
Yeah.
effort, that's fine.
Yeah, there's some areas out here. If you bounce around a little bit, you can find. You just got to poke around. That bit, that Hall of Fame inductions in Big Sky, and
Yep.
I was surprised because I was looking for family and friends, and it's like Big Sky is more expensive than Sun Valley. There's like the lodging scenario there's insane. I was trying to look for friends and things, and it's like $385 for a room anywhere for a night. It's just nuts.
Yeah. Big Sky's a whole, I've heard it's a whole other world. Like there's all of Montana and then there's that town, and it's a high-end ski town that, and that's just what it is. But I also heard it's friggin' beautiful too. Like it's gorgeous, and that mountain goes up another friggin' 10,000 feet or whatever it is, out of town. And like I said, town's 7,200 up, so you're already in the sky. And now you got to keep going. It's like, I don't know how people do it. I just don't. But I heard
What's the peak elevation there? I'm excited to go up there. I went there once. Shane McGawkey and I, the first time we ever filmed with Nick Nixon, I think you brought that up. But
Yeah.
the whole time we filmed outside of Colorado, because we started out shooting the spider stuff and Belant and this other stuff around Colorado.
Sure.
But we did a Big Sky trip with him,
Mhm.
and it didn't go very well. I just think we didn't ever get snow. But I was in Big Sky with Shane, like whenever that would have been 92 or something. So like 30 years ago.
Sure.
And wait, is that 30? Yeah.
Ish.
Okay. And I haven't been back since. So I don't really remember it very well,
Yeah.
but I know if I did, I'd be completely shocked.
Yeah. But I'm sure it'll be totally worth it. I think, I want to say it peaks out somewhere around 11K. I don't know if that's right though.
Well, that's
because
high. We're only like 93 here. We go from like
93's not
6
bad.
to 93, which is pretty common, I think. Then we
Yeah.
have peaks. We have a lot of 12,000 footers around here, several. So we have these big mountains. They just didn't, the American the American guys who were building the ski areas back when you could do it. They just,
Yeah.
I don't know, they didn't seem to have the vision that the Europeans did, because we don't have any of these high alpine ski areas. And I go up here and I'm like, damn, I wish we had a tram that went up, over here. We'd just be crushing like,
Yeah, totally.
insane terrain all the time.
Yeah, it's actually kind of surprising. You're not wrong. I love to see those trams and stuff out there in Europe that you look at them, you have no idea how they even got it up there. Like, like there's technology, but it's like, dude, that's not real. That can't be real. And then people just go hammer that. And there's places like that, but it sparked the whole culture over here. Like, go ahead and hike up it, man. Go get it. That's what people do. And more power to them. Like, I respect you. Go. Have a blast. Take pictures for me because I won't make it. I'll die. The highest I've
Then
ever...
you get back to then you just get back to like you kind of touched on it with the indoor ski area, but
Sure.
you get back to the simple basics of it, and it's just fun. Skiing's fun, and it's a healthy way for people. I mean, it's therapy for me in the winter. It's like I just get when it gets crappy here, I'll go up and just ski groomers top to bottom for an hour. We can call it good, but God, it's so much better than being indoors in the winter.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd live in a snowy area if I didn't ski. And, even on these little hills, at least you get out there and you get some fresh air, and everyone likes the buzz of skiing down a run, no matter where it is.
Totally. 100%. It's such an amazing feeling. It's an amazing sport. I don't care how you do it either. If you're skiing, snowboarding, if you got telemarks, whatever, if you're hiking up, skiing down, if you're going down on your face, that's fine too. If you don't fall, you're not trying, they say. I don't know how true that is, because I'm sure you've had much worse falls than I ever had in some of those places.
Probably.
But, no, absolutely. Guaranteed. I'm a wuss compared. That's why I like talking to these giants of the industry, these guys who have done things that make me look like such a wuss because I am and I own it and I accept it. 9,300 is the highest I've ever been, kids. 9,300, and I almost threw up on my friend's shoes. Yes, altitude sickness is real. But all that kidding aside, man, it sounds like you have transitioned well from being the go pro, like you said, up at 3 a.m., loading sleds, loading camera gear, scouting this, doing that, doing it as a job. You've transitioned well into it being a hobby again and a recreation. And I love that, dude. I think that's great.
Yeah. I loved the job. It was incredibly fun for years and years. And then it just,
Sure.
You're in the cold all the time, all day, for one thing. Back then, you're generally with a whole bunch of dudes all the time and hardly see women.
Yep. A bummer and a half in itself, dude.
Well, I mean, it's just like it's such a healthier environment if there's gender balance,
Sure.
It's like just that, you have too many guys together for too long and things get wacky.
Yeah, things get a little weird. Get a little weird. Get a little
Pulled
weird.
up in a shack in Alaska for a month.
Gets a little weird.
But I don't know, lots of factors, but I myth it too. There's a lot of things where, realistically, if I would have just had, if I was an athlete, you could be like, hey man, I'm taking 3 years off right now and I'll be back.
Sure.
People could take that seriously.
Yeah.
Like that would probably work for a lot of people because you even see the NFL, like Brady obviously is the GOAT, but he's getting pretty old. And there's a lot of sports where people are doing it older, but a lot of it's, if you're like 35 and you'd be like, hey, I'm going to take 3 years off and then I'm going to go hard from 38 to 42 again. You got 5 more years out of me. And if your sponsor would be like, okay, yeah, we'll take you right back on and we'll support you a little bit while you take a break. Like,
Sure.
That'd be amazing, but it doesn't really work that way.
No, I've heard tell.
You're out, you turn off and,
But
that's
hey,
kind of it.
if someone's not paying you to do it, at least you could still do it. And that's, in my opinion, one of the greatest things about it. And again, like I said, I mean, I don't know. I have always wondered when I've seen athletes of all kinds. I was just at the Killington Cup over there watching Michaela Schifrin ski, and it's like I want to ask her, like, dude, is it still fun, or is it just a job now? Is it just numbers?
Yeah.
It went in.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, now that when she just break the. Did she just break the medals record from Stenmark or whatever?
No, she just got 81, so she needs 5, I think.
Yeah, so she's got that to chase. But that's a good question. Like, when she hits that number, and then it's like, okay, I want to get 20 more. As long as if you're setting goals for yourself,
sure.
Like when I quit skiing, Shane McConkey and I we were like brothers, but we were also very competitive with each other.
Yeah,
and he was doing some really dangerous stuff with all the base jumping and shit. And I was like, I made a point of writing a note to him to let him know I was retiring.
Yeah.
And he wrote back and he was like, I was like, hey, I've kind of done everything I wanted to do. I'm out, just letting you know. I didn't say the competition's off, but I was kind of like just letting him know that the competition's off.
Sure.
And he wrote me back and he was like, yeah, I still have some things that I want to achieve, and so I'm going to give it a few more years. And so I was like, all right, that's cool. But like, I think a lot of people get to where, and I'm wondering, like, there is a next generation of big mountain guys now who are clearly older even than I was, and there's they have. I think there's some branding there where they can keep going, and
sure,
they've clearly tapered back their aggressiveness.
Sure.
But I also just wonder, like, it's hard making the transition. Like, you want to keep skiing, but you also want to be doing something else, and it's for all the action sports. Like, there's a lot of alcoholism, and there's people who go down some really crappy roads when they get out of these sports.
Yeah.
And it's tough making that transition because most of us don't make enough money to retire on. It's not like other sports. We do really well annually for the period that we're in, but we can't step out of it like a mainstream, I don't know what you call it, the big televised sports can do.
Yeah.
So I think the transition thing is tough. I've seen it be really tough on a couple friends of mine.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine, like, you hear about things like this. And, speaking of the next generation coming up, the next group, it feels like it. And I don't know, maybe it's the internet doing this, but do you think it's easier to get into it? As in, when during your day, there was a handful of yous. Now there's so many names. I don't even try. Like, I couldn't tell you a single person who is in the current generation out there ripping it. I might have seen them a dozen times, but I don't know the names because there's so many. Is it gotten to that point where, I don't want to say anybody can do it, because not anybody can do it, but it was really niche when you were there.
I think anyone who's a really good marketer and influencer can do it.
Sure.
So there's sort of like that whole train of thought of, I hear some people say, and I'm not in the scene at all. I have no idea what's going on. I have like my favorite skier guys because they're friends of mine.
Totally.
But, and then sometimes I'll see someone and I'll be like there's some guys I never met.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have the name problem that you're having, but there's some guys I never met where I saw him skiing and I was like, okay, that guy's like, I like the way this guy rips, and
sure.
And other people, I watch movies and I'm like, these guys aren't even really as good as me and my peers were. And then, so
exactly.
But then there's like and then I hear like some of the people, like there's some people who are heavy influencers, like they're better at the marketing as you have the followers. So I don't know. I mean, overall, I'd say it's extremely competitive. And the guy, there's so many of them now who just crush it.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know how I'm not as refined in my viewing as I used to be. I used to be very refined and I could see the subtle differences between people and tricks and things where I could really identify someone who is at another level. And I think maybe I can do that, but and I think the guys who are making the movies, I think they know how to do that. I have guys like these kids. Kai Jones is amazing as a kid. I like, his
totally.
brother. Yeah, it's a good friend of mine. And
okay,
and you see other kids, like, I think you got to be pretty damn good to get into an MSP or a TGR film now.
Sure.
So yeah, older guys who are part of the older crew, who are sort of part of the family and the branding. And then, if they're bringing someone new in, like, I think the people who are coming in who are new are, pretty exceptional.
Yeah. Well, you see, that's interesting. You mentioned Kai Jones. People know that name. I know that name because he was 13 and destroying. Like, all right, kid.
Yeah.
Go do it, and he was in TGR. In fact, I think TGR was the one who debuted him to the world,
Yeah.
And, the kid is ridiculous. And now I think he was just in the news for something. I forget what, though. Maybe he got picked up by somebody.
Have you ever heard this book? I heard about this book on Rogan's podcast called Outliers.
Okay.
But it basically talks about how, like, people who become exceptional generally had exceptional childhood situations that got them to be exceptional.
Sure.
Why, just grew up around like the films, and his dad is like the most stoked person on, Todd Jones is like, loves skiing, and like they built an amazing business, Steve and Todd and the TGR crew. And like, Kai just grew up around that and the film was like the biggest thing every year, and he just had that vision.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he was just born into it, I guess.
Yeah.
He's a good boy, I've heard. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, and and he's become amazing.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, he's not just in his movie. He's legitimately like amazing.
Yeah, no,
he's in the movie because he's the kid.
yeah. No, he's ridiculous.
Well, his uncle Jeremy was, I rode with Jeremy a lot. Jeremy was just such ahead of everyone, snowboarding, big mountain riding in general. Just amazing.
Jeremy Jones, huh?
Something like we were touching in on this stuff a little bit.
Yep.
There's something like in the brand with the action sports crowd. There's like my daughter has some like neurodiversity stuff. Like they thought she was 8. They were saying she was 8. She was disruptive in school, so they were like, oh, she's 8, PhD, blah blah blah.
Sure.
So anyway, I read a bunch of books on like different neurodiversity, autism, ADHD, all this stuff. And when I read these books, and I was like, this is like at least 50% of the people that were my peers in the sports.
Totally.
No doubt.
Yeah.
well, including myself.
Yeah. Oh, it's a whole different world. I don't even get the world. You know, I get a lot of it, not all of it. I have to ask questions. And that's why I have people like you come on, because I don't know what I'm talking about. And we could probably let you go on forever, but we won't, because we've hit our hour. That's right, kids. I try to keep it to an hour because Lord knows there have been times I haven't kept it to an hour, and me and the guest have gone on and on and on. And Kent and I could probably go on and on and on too, but I'll let you go. Man, do you have anything you want to plug? Websites?
No.
Anything?
No, I just thanks for having it. It was nice just having a conversation, because there's so much that we didn't go into, and we were able to kind of keep it into like a bunch of areas that aren't necessarily topics that people want to talk with me about. So I enjoyed it. And thanks, Tim. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. Well, that's what I wanted. Like when Egan suggested you, I said, cool, yeah, Hall of Famer. Great. I'll talk to every Hall of Famer, because Hall of Famer isn't just skiers and snowboarders. It's also industry professionals. It's also, filmmakers and tech engineers, basically tech folks. So I'm like, yeah, what can we talk about? And Ken and I was like, so dude, this is what he told me to ask you about. Ask you about the Nick Nixon times, and said you and Shane were really close. And that to me, like, I don't want it to be Shane Fest, you know? I mean, everybody respects the guy 100%, but this is Kent we're talking to, God damn it. And you brought up being out of it. And I was like, dude, that's so cool. What's it like to be out of it? And
I crush it, man. I crushed it.
Yeah, and I love that.
Just crush bow all the time.
There you go. That's what people want to hear.
With my unknown skier friends.
There you go. That's what people want to hear. It is a social sport. And once it's done with the job, fuck the job. Go back into the woods and just hang out with your buddies and do, if you're still drinking, still drink. If you're still smoking, still smoke. If you're still picking up girls in the bar, do that too, or vice versa. It doesn't matter to me if you're a female skier or not. I don't care. Everybody's welcome. Kent, thank you very much, man. Keep holding it down out there in Idaho, man. I got to slide through there one of these days.
Yeah, call me. Come on through. Great
Absolutely.
to meet you, Sam.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Thank you.
All right, good. Take care. Thanks to everyone listening.
And there you have it. And there he goes, the one and only Kent Kreitler, 2023 Hall of Famer, old school free skiing guy. Been around, has a bunch of stories holding it down there in Idaho, not only on the skiing front, but the real estate front as well. Did you have fun with that one, kids? I think you did, because I had fun with that, man. We went and talked about just about anything and everything that came to mind, and we still tied it all into snow sports. How cool is that? And we have another suggestion, as I said in the interview. I think I said it during the episode, that Dan Egan was the one who suggested Kent Kreitler. And I was like, all right, cool. Now Kent Kreitler has suggested Darian Boyle. So we'll talk to her, see if she wants to come talk next, and then see if we go on to someone else. And we'll just make a whole line of folks that we talk to, one suggested by the other, and we'll learn everything and we'll talk to everyone, and it'll be a lot of fun, I think. What do you think? If you do think that's fun, or if you think that's not a good idea or whatever, go ahead and contact Ski Rex Media. Contact information is on my website, skirexmedia.com. You can find links to all of that in the description, along with links to the sponsors. In this case, Whaleback Mountain and St. Custom Skis and Snowboards, as you heard at the beginning, or not if you are an ad-free Patreon subscriber. That's right. You go to Patreon, not only do you get early access, but you get ad-free podcast episodes now. That started with the last episode with Carly Bascom and has continued into Kent's episode, and will continue next week into Tim Smith's episode as well. Tim Smith, President GM over there at Waterville Valley in New Hampshire. Right? Go ahead and check everything out in the show notes. Again, links to skirexmedia.com. That way you can find out everything you'd ever want to know about Ski Rex Media, including contact information and social media links, and some of my written pieces, and a few other little tasty tidbits, and a way to sign up for updates or the sticker request form. That way it's easy. If you would like stickers, I can get them to you very easily. You just go to the form and say, hey, I want some stickers. You put your name and address in, and then I send them out, which I was slow at during the holiday season. Again, it's the holidays. I was sick, all that good stuff, so whatever. But thank you again for listening to the Ski Rex Media Podcast. I do hope you enjoyed it. Again, let me know if you did, or you can comment in the places that you can comment. You can follow and or subscribe, whatever they call it, on the apps that you would choose to use, whether it be the Podbean app or Spotify or iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, wherever. And if you can rate it, go ahead and rate the show too. I've had 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts. So if you haven't rated the podcast yet, please do so with an honest rating. And then just keep listening, right? Right. I will see you out there, everyone. Have a good season, or continue to have a good season. Again, Happy New Year. And I will see you out there. Thank you for listening. I'll see you out there later.